Hello everybody and welcome to The Pocket Passer on I-FormNation. I'm your host Randy White and these are my top 10 quarterbacks. Starting at number 10, Lamar Jackson. Lamar is the best running quarterback in the NFL and it's not even close. He's had struggles passing the ball and that's why he isn't higher on the list. An example of this is his 16 touchdowns to 13 pick ratio last season. Of course, the Ravens did have a ton of injuries and their offense really struggled with lack of receiving talent on the perimeter, which no doubt had a great effect to what Lamar could do on the outside. With that being said, I'd like to see him improve with his consistency, reading defenses in situations where he's forced to pass, and at times protecting the football. Now, when you look at his MVP season stats, obviously nothing impressive in the passing yardage category, but when you combine his passing and rushing yards, you get around 4,300 total yards gained, which is an absolutely productive season. 36 touchdowns to 6 picks along with 7 rushing touchdowns. Again, that's 44 total touchdowns in the season. An excellent season, and he clearly deserved MVP in that season because of those stats. He's an exceptional player, an exceptional talent, but he just needs to shore up some inconsistencies in the passing game for me to be able to rank him higher on the list. At 9, Carr. He leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks since he's entered the league, and I think that's something that a lot of people ignore. This dude is the definition of clutch. He's been on a plethora of inconsistent teams. There's a lack of talent around him all the time. Even this year, massive adversity. They lose their head coach. He loses his wide receiver one, and he's still able to will his team, lead his team to the playoffs in a game where he played really well against the Chargers and had to outduel Justin Herbert, who had one of the greatest stretches of quarterbacking I've ever seen in fourth quarter do-or-die situations. He had 8,900 passing yards over the last 2 seasons. That's 6th in the NFL. So he's been very productive through the air, throwing the ball. And that, as a matter of fact, one of the best in the league. He's also had about a 68% completion percentage over the last 2 seasons, which is better than people like Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Justin Herbert. So the productivity is there. He just needs a wide receiver one, and they get Davante Adams. The 50 touchdowns to 23 picks is going to improve this year. That's a solid number already, but now he's got his weapons and his just ability to spread the ball is going to be on full scale this year with 3 excellent receiving options in Adams, Renfro, and Darren Waller. So Derek Carr is 9. Now 8, Russell Wilson. He had an off year last season and he still threw for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 picks. He also missed 3 games. Over the last 2 seasons, he's thrown 65 touchdowns and 19 picks, which is a very, very solid number. He's protected the ball well. He's made a case for the MVP. He led his team to the playoffs when he was healthy the whole season. And that's without consistent help at any other position besides receiver. He's had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But outside of that, inconsistent and unhealthy running backs, inconsistent tight end play, inconsistent to just straight poor offensive line play, inconsistent defensive play. There's not been any stability around him in Seattle. He's going to a Denver team that has stability. I would like them to improve their weapons a little bit. It's definitely a downgrade from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but they still have very serviceable weapons and weapons that could progress to become very productive with new and high-level quarterback play in Russell Wilson. Now 7, Matthew Stafford. He just won the Super Bowl. Only 9 games below 50% win percentage, despite playing in Detroit for 12 years. It's a 13-4 record will get him even this year, and I think that's something the Rams can absolutely do. My point is that he has a losing record despite being on a historically awful franchise, and not just a historically awful franchise, one of the 2 worst franchises in the NFL. The Detroit Lions have been nothing short of abysmal for decades upon decades, long before I ever lived. And he led them to the playoffs 3 times. Despite that, with the help of course, Calvin Johnson. And the moment he goes to a team, now granted the Rams had the best roster in the NFL last year, and I don't think that's debatable. But despite that, he goes to a team with a good roster, or in this case, an elite roster, and what does he do immediately? He wins the Super Bowl. He doesn't just win the Super Bowl, he has an excellent season. He threw for I believe it was 41 touchdowns to 17 picks. Now granted, 17 picks is a lot. but that can happen. And if you want to talk about a lot of picks, Joe Burrow threw just a little less than that, and no one gives him flack for the amount of picks. It was a 2 or 3 pick difference, and Matthew Stafford's the one with the Super Bowl ring now. So I don't think you can give him that much flack for what he's done this year. Again, 67 touchdowns and 27 picks in the last 2 seasons. Almost 9,000 yards, which is 4th most in the last 2 seasons, and that was with him playing Detroit for one of those seasons. 34 fourth-quarter comebacks in his career, which is also the most that he's had, which is also the most since he entered the league, similar to Derek Carr having the most since he entered the league. It's also 5th all-time and 2nd among active players. Now 6, Justin Herbert. The most touchdown passes in the first 2 seasons of a career ever. This dude just has an unbelievable arm. Watching him throw the football, I've seen some throws that just a handful of guys in the history of the league can make. He has exceptional arm talent, 69 touchdowns to 25 picks in the last 2 seasons, as well as 9,300 yards in those last 2 seasons. That's the 3rd most in the NFL. 2nd in pass yards this season, 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. I mean, the dude is just incredible. I mean, he showed it his rookie year, and then he doubled down on it again, throwing for 5,000 yards in his 2nd season in the NFL. He's an exceptional talent, and he's just going to continue to get better. And it's really a toss-up between him and who I have at number 5, which is Joe Burrow. Led the Bengals to the Super Bowl, and that's really the big catalyst that puts him over the top. 8.9 yards per attempt, which led the league. His 70.4% completion percentage, which led the league. Achieved these numbers despite being sacked the most in the league, 51 times. The offensive line could not protect him, and frankly, the Bengals' pass blocking scheming was horrendous. They did not put themselves in advantageous positions to give Joe Burrow time, and you could argue that that does fall on Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow needs to be more proactive, getting his offensive line in the right protection schemes so that he does have time. There are times that he should have had a running back chipping a linebacker or having a line or sliding his offensive line a certain way based off of different loads and the pressures and the way the defensive fronts were showing. You saw it in the Jets game, you saw it in the Chargers game, and I think that's something he can definitely improve on. But he had an absolutely incredible season coupled with Lamar Chase, and he just led his team to the Super Bowl. He overcame a 21-3 deficit in the AFC Championship, and not just anyone, to the high-flying Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and Tyreek Hill offense with Travis Kelce. I mean, to overcome that is just exceptional. He's got that it factor, too. There's something about the way he approaches the game that reminds me of Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but he's got that same or similar level of intensity, similar level of, I don't know what you want to call it, leadership. It's that X factor, that the game is never over because he's Joe Cool. So now, we're to the top 4. At number 4, Josh Allen. He's the most impressive and fun quarterback to watch, in my opinion. I mean, the dude is just, his arm, his strength, his speed, he is the complete package since he changed his mechanics 2 seasons ago to become a more rotational thrower, and we've seen it on the field. The stats speak for themselves. 73 touchdowns to 25 picks in those last 2 seasons, as well as almost 9,000 yards passing, which is the 5th most in the league in that time span. He changed his mechanics to a more rotational form, and his accuracy has skyrocketed along with the addition of Stephon Diggs, a star receiver, which every quarterback should be seeking for. A star receiver. Joe Burrow's got it, Lamar Chase. Justin Herbert's got Keenan Allen. Matthew Stafford's got Cooper Kupp. Russell Wilson had DK and Tyler Lockett. Derek Carr's going to get Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers had Devontae Adams. Star receivers are a key part of the productivity of the receiver. And the moment we gave one to Josh Allen, he was in the MVP conversation. 14 rushing touchdowns as well in those last 2 seasons, by the way. That's 1st among quarterbacks. Sometimes people don't talk about him as being one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. Now, usually they do. But the point I'm trying to make here is that he might not be as fast, as quick, as agile as Lamar Jackson, but he makes up for it in his strength and, just his strength, really. He's not the same potent runner that Lamar Jackson is, but he's been able to put points on the board unlike anyone else using both his arm and his leg. 77.4% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns and no picks, and 637 yards in his 2 playoff games this year. He had the 2 best playoff games I've ever seen from any quarterback ever. I've never heard of a quarterback putting together the stats that he put up against a good New England Patriots defense, and then against the Chiefs defense that was awful in the beginning of the year, but really put things together in the second half of the year and performed well. I mean, we saw them suffocate the Bengals in the first half of both their games. Josh Allen just lit the place on fire in both games against the Patriots and against the Chiefs. And if he can play like that, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, hands down. The question with him, and the reason he's at 4, is purely consistency. He's had too many poor games for me to put him higher than 4. Now moving on to number 3. Patrick Mahomes. Okay. He speaks for himself. His resume speaks for himself. 4 straight AFC Championship appearances, all at home. 75 touchdowns and 19 picks in the last 2 seasons. 9,600 passing yards in the last 2 seasons. This is the second most in the league in that time frame. One of only 3 quarterbacks on this list to be a Super Bowl MVP as well. He's got it all. He's got the arm, one of the 3 strongest arms in the NFL with him, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert. Can make all the throws. He loses his explosive target in Tyreek Hill, but he's still got his safety blanket in Travis Kelce, who's the best receiving tight end in the league and one of the greatest ever. He's going to continue to put numbers on the board. Patrick Mahomes is just an exceptional quarterback, and you can't justify him being lower than 3 right now. Now, number 2. The greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. In 2 seasons with the Bucs, he's led his team to a 24-9 record after the Buccaneers were just kind of Now, granted, they improved other areas. They brought in Leonard Fournette. They brought in Antonio Brown. They brought in Rob Gronkowski. They improved the offensive line. They improved the defense. But Tom Brady is the piece that brings all of those other pieces in. Leonard Fournette and Gronk don't join without Brady. He's got almost 10,000 yards in the last 2 seasons. It's just unbelievable numbers. 83 touchdowns and 24 picks. That's the most touchdowns we've seen yet on this list, by a good amount, in fact. Led the league in passing yards, touchdowns, completions, and attempts this season. 5-time Super Bowl MVP. 42 fourth-quarter comebacks, which is first among active players, first since he's entered the league, and second only to Peyton Manning all-time with 43. He'll pass him this year, barring some kind of a freakish event. The dude first of all, he's the best pre-snap quarterback in NFL history. You could argue Peyton Manning. He's certainly the best pre-snap quarterback in the league right now. He's Mr. Reliable. He's the coolest of cool. He's going to get it done no matter what. When you're betting on someone to close out the game on a last-minute drive, you pick Tom Brady, and it's not a debate. Tom Brady is, when you talk about clutch, when you talk about the X Factor, I mentioned the X Factor with Joe Burrow, but that is Tom Brady. It's been his entire career, and it's been his entire legacy. It hasn't been his athleticism. It hasn't necessarily been his arm strength, although he has a good arm, and it's frankly an underrated arm, but it's been the clutch time and time again. Now, number 1, Aaron Rodgers, 4 MVPs in the last 10 seasons, an astonishing 85 touchdowns to 9 picks in the last 2 seasons. That's almost 9.5 touchdowns to every pick. I mean, it's never been done before. Back-to-back MVP, back-to-back first seed. He's led his team to 26-7 record over the last 2 seasons. That's at least 13. Actually, that's 13 wins in both seasons. A 69.8% completion percentage over the last 2 seasons, which is first in that time frame. 8 yards an attempt in the last 2 seasons, also first in that time frame. He's losing Devontae Adams, and sure, that's a concern, and that's why I don't think he's going to be necessarily the best quarterback in the league this season, but right now, he's still the best quarterback in the NFL. You don't win back-to-back MVPs for no reason at all. He's earned everything he's gotten. The dude is an exceptional talent. Again, one of the best pre-snap quarterbacks in the NFL. Not as good as Tom Brady, I would say, but he's one of the best, if not the second best. The arm talent is still there. I think he's still a top 4 arm in the league. I know Madden came out and disrespected his arm strength like crazy. And I just think that was out of line. I think EA Sports has to get that figured out, because if you watch this man sling the football, it's not as strong as Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert, but it's pretty darn close. And I think the recognition still has to be there, not just for his brain and his accuracy, but his arm is still there. He's still mobile. He can still move. He can still put the ball in the end zone with his legs, move the chains with his legs, extend plays with his legs. He's the complete package and the most talented quarterback of all time. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to let you know how much both myself and my friends at I-FormNation appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to watch us. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and comment down below. And if you want to see more of what we do here at I-FormNation, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you want to check us out on our other platforms, make sure to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at I-FormNation. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.